Hello and welcome to the JAGGAER 21.1 release feature demonstration for the JAGGAER Advantage platform. To begin, we would like to highlight two exciting 21.1 features that will impact the platform overall and are not specific to an individual module. The first is the ability to mass update and assign user roles. And the second is a new option for substituting approvers. While the ability to fine-tune user roles at a granular level is paramount to an efficient, secure platform, the act of updating and associating those roles can become tedious without the ability to perform mass updates. In 21.1, the ability to mass update and associate user roles will be available on the following tabs: Users, Global User Roles, if that's activated for your company, and User Roles. This utilizes an Excel export-import process similar to other areas in the software. Let's jump into our demo software and take a look at how this process works. So I've logged into my demo software and I've navigated to User Management, Manage Users, and we're going to start on the Users tab. The first thing that you want to do to start the process is move over to the three dots on the right-hand side or the Other Actions menu, select it, and choose Export User Roles. Depending on the size of your user base, this could take a little bit of time. Once the Excel spreadsheet has downloaded, you'll want to go ahead and open it. And as always, enable editing so that you can make changes. So you'll notice all of the basic information that we saw on the main screen of the Users tab. But as you scroll over to the right, you'll notice the major areas for this update. You have current role, which of course gives the current role for that particular user. And then to the right of that is modified role rights. This means that this particular person has been assigned a role that has certain rights and then been given individual rights that are outside of that role. To the right of that column, you have the action column. This is what actually tells the import what to do with the changes that you've made. If you select it, you'll notice your option is a drop-down that gives you update or delete. If you are adding a role to someone who doesn't have one or changing a role, of course, that would be an update. If you are removing a role, then that would be delete. In order to show this today, I am going to take someone that does not have a current role and give them a role, as well as change one person with a current role to another. Now, the question could be at this point, what user roles do I have to choose from? While you could go through your user list to find them, an easier way is in the User Role tab down at the bottom, which pulls all of the roles that your company has created and displayed the rights and settings for each of those roles that can be applied. Now, there's a lot of information here. It literally gives you every right for those roles. But to just gather the names, you'll have column A here to pick from and add to. But if we're just looking for the user role name, you want to make sure that you copy over the actual name and get it perfectly right, because the system is going to be expecting it to be exactly how it is in the system. So for the two things that we want to do, we want to first make sure that we're choosing an active user, which we have one right here. And this person already has a current role. So what I'm going to do is give them a new role. I'm going to take this contract manager role and apply it to our user. And then I'm going to indicate to the system that this is an update. I am updating their current role to a new role. Then for someone else, I'm going to find another active user that does not have a role. So we'll choose this one right here and make sure that they are currently active, and they are. And I'm going to put their role as the contract manager as well, and as an update. Now make sure if you do have multiple divisions within your company that the roles that you're choosing are either shared among divisions or that you're choosing the right one to go with the right division. Once you're done, you will save the file. So I'm going to do that now and then close the file. To import the file, you'll want to go over to the right-hand side again, but instead of the three-dot menu, you'll choose Import Update User Role. This is going to take you to a screen where you can either drag and drop a file into the square or choose your file. Once you have located your file, you'll choose Import Excel. So an example, if you have any issues with your particular Excel spreadsheet, you will see the exact issue listed in the error that is generated. In this case, we have a particular user who cannot have the new role of HD contract manager. So you'd want to go back to your Excel file, figure out why. Usually it's that that particular role is not conducive with that person's division, and you'll make that change and re-upload. So we'll do this and come back and see what it looks like when everything works correctly. So offline, I have made changes to my Excel spreadsheet so that we can see what it looks like when it does work properly. I'm going to again choose my file and import. So now we see that this has been successful as we did not get any errors, and it tells us the user roles to update, which means that they currently had a role and it's changing to another one, and the user roles to associate, which means that that person did not have a user role at all and they're now getting a role. Now down here at the bottom, this is very important. Reset user rights on all objects. If you tick this box, then that means that every object that is currently in the system, so RFQs, contracts, etc., will then have these rights applied for that particular user. However, if that person may be transferring to a different department and you want them to still have access to the old information, you would not want to tick this box. That would allow them to access the things that they were able to previously, but anything going forward, they would not be able to access. And then when you're ready, you will just hit confirm. And your changes were made. You can see the HD contract managers that I created there. The second area that we want to look at operates quite the same, but it's a little bit less information to handle. Now, not all of you will have the global user role tab. This is something that's only activated by certain organizations that have multiple business organizations and divisions that they want to control. If you do not have this tab, you will want to access the user roles tab. If you do have global user roles, the import-export process will be almost exactly the same as what you see here in the user role section. So over here on the right, we first, of course, want to get our template. So we'll go again to the three dots or other actions menu and export roles for update. This one should be a bit of a quicker process because you likely won't have that many roles in the system. Once that file is ready, you will want to open it, enable your editing, and now you'll see that this is similar to what we looked at before, except now we have a column in the very beginning that is the action column, and it has the options of insert or update. So at this point, you could insert a new role and fill it out across all columns, or you can update a role with a new or different permission. The process is the same for the actual import into the system, so we won't go through that again, but I do want to draw attention to the configurable rights tab down at the bottom here. Whenever you are assigning particular rights to a role, you have several different options depending on what that particular right is. As you can see here, you have view category strategies, and you have the options only where I'm in the team, all in my organization, or all in all organizations. So this tab is a reference for all the options that you can then apply to the correct area within that user roles line, like the category strategies that we were just discussing. So if you need that quick reference, definitely look back at the configurable rights tab at the bottom. Otherwise, when you have a file that you're happy with, you'll do the exact same thing using import update roles on the user roles tab. If there are any issues, the system will let you know. Otherwise, it will give you the same option to either reset their rights on everything in the system or to not check that box and only have these changes apply to things in the future. Let's now head back to our presentation to talk about our next feature, the additions to approver substitution. Currently, substitute approvers may be added to an object, such as RFX, contract, or category strategy, upon setup, allowing for additional approvers for unexpected circumstances. However, when the object is in progress, this ability becomes very limited. In 21.1, the ability to forward pending or past due approvals to another qualified approver will be available to those with the correct permissions. The user rights required to manage and delegate these approval substitutions is manage users' roles, user lists, and divisions, as well as the right approver responsibility delegation. This type of ability is looked at as a more administrative type ability. Please be aware that you should take a look at the complete release notes for 21.1 to see a complete list of specifications for use of this process. Let's jump back into our demo software and take a look. Back in our demo software, I've navigated to the dashboard, my approvals, and I'm starting out on approver substitutions, which is currently already available and in use within the system. This is where you're able to replace a certain approver for a period of time if you have the knowledge beforehand that that person will be out and unable to approve. So this would only work on future approvals during a specific time. However, you don't always have the information beforehand that somebody is going to be unable to complete their approvals. Many instances might come up where you're in the middle of an object running and you need the approval process to continue forward, but one approver is holding things up for unexpected reasons. For that, you're going to go over to the Overall Running Approvals tab. Now, unlike our very first tab here, My Approval Requests, which shows all of the requests for the signed in user, the Overall Running Approvals tab shows all of the approvals waiting in the queue right now, assigned to different approvers. It has them broken down into the types so that you can see exactly where your approvals lie. If you have the correct permissions that I listed before, you should see the Substitute Approver option. And the very first user that you're going to search for is the user that is going to be out or for some reason cannot complete their approvals. You can either search for them or choose the Select with Search Criteria option and choose them from your user list. You'll notice if you want to get more information about the people here, you can select their name and this pop-up will open up where you're able to see what division, department, and role that person has. This can help you if you need to make sure that the person that you are sending these approvals to has the correct role and permissions to be able to take these approvals over. Once you've made your selection of the person whose approvals need to be forwarded, you would hit Select. And you're taken back to the Overall Running Approvals tab, where you can now only see the approvals for the person that I selected. If you made a mistake and this wasn't the person that you were looking for, you can hit Reset, which would take you back to our overall pie chart that shows all of the approvals. But if this is the correct person, then you would just select Go to User Approvals. This is going to bring up a screen that gives you a little bit of detail about that particular person's approvals that are waiting to be approved, but you can only see the details that you see displayed here, so keep that in mind. Over on the right-hand side, of course, you can see the due date so you can know if these are overdue, which they are. You'll also notice that you have the option of selecting as many of these approvals as you would like. So there is the ability to split these approvals out amongst several different people if you so choose. But for our instance, I'm just going to select the square at the top so that it selects everything and choose Mass Forward. Now I need to find someone who has the permissions and the rights available to approve the 2 tasks that I forwarded from my user that's going to be out. So I am going to look for that particular person. After I choose them, I will hit Select. And now I have a moment to make sure that everything that I'm doing is exactly what I meant to do. So over on the left-hand side, it's giving us a summary of who the current approver is. and on the right-hand side, who the new approver is. On the bottom, you'll see all of the approvals to be forwarded. You'll see that this is just 2 task approvals, but if you had other objects like RFX or contracts, you would see those listed out separately as well. Once you're ready, you would hit confirm. And once again, you're taken to overall running approvals back to all 18 that we have outstanding. At this time, there are 2 alerts that will be going out. One will go out to the previous person that had these approvals, letting them know that those approvals have been forwarded on to someone else. And also the person that is taking over those approvals will receive an alert, letting them know that they now have requests that have been forwarded to them. As I said before, please do read the release notes within library.jaggaer.com to see all the specifications on how this forwarding can be utilized and anything you might need to consider while setting this up. Now that you've learned about the new features available with the JAGGAER 21.1 release for the JAGGAER Advantage platform, start testing them for your organization now. We hope this functionality will empower procurement at your organization, and we welcome you to contact us with your questions and feedback.